The alarms began without warning. A sharp red light filled the long metal hallway. Flashing again and again, no one spoke at first, because everyone already knew something was wrong. Inside the deepest part of the alien facility, there was a room that was never supposed to fail. A room with no doors, no windows, and no weakness. They called it the cage. 2 guards stood outside, holding weapons that could burn through steel. But their hands were shaking. One of them whispered, "It hasn't moved for hours. Why now?" The other did not reply because he was staring at the screen. The screen showed a small figure sitting in the center of the glass chamber. It looked like a child, small body, thin arms, soft face.
Looking right at us.
And empty eyes. It was not chained. It did not need chains. Because nothing had ever survived long enough to touch it. A scientist rushed into the hallway, breathing fast. "How many are gone?" he asked, his voice tight with fear. 12, one guard said quietly. The scientist froze. 12. But no breach was detected. No movement. How is that possible? The guard slowly looked at him. It didn't move. Not even once.
Subject
Silence
7
fell
is ready
again,
for testing.
heavy and
Proceed
cold,
immediately.
inside the cage. The child sat still, its head slightly lowered, as if listening to something far away. Then suddenly, one of the screens went black. Then another, then another. The lights flickered, the temperature dropped. Something was wrong, very wrong. The scientist stepped closer to the glass. Even though every part of him wanted to run, "We need to reset the system." "Now," he said. But before anyone could move, the child slowly raised its head. Its eyes opened, not glowing, not bright, just empty. But that emptiness felt heavier than anything they had ever seen. One guard took a step back. "Don't look at it." "Don't." Too late. The guard dropped his weapon. His body twisted in the air like something invisible had grabbed him. And then silence. He fell to the ground. Not moving, no sound, no struggle, just gone. The second guard screamed and fired his weapon at the glass. The blast hit the surface and disappeared. Like it had never existed, the child did not react. It simply stared, watching, waiting. The scientist stumbled backward, his mind racing. This is not possible. It's not even touching anything. He looked at the control panel, his hands shaking. If we can't stop it, we contain it. We isolate it further. But another voice came through the speaker. Calm and cold. "No," the scientist froze. "What do you mean, no?" "We test it," the voice said. A pause. "We introduce a subject." The scientist's face went pale. "You can't be serious. Anything we send in will die. That is the point," the voice replied. Moments later, heavy footsteps echoed in the hallway. 2 soldiers dragged a human prisoner forward. He was injured, weak, barely able to stand. Blood stained his clothes, and his eyes were half closed. "What is this?" "Where are you taking me?" he whispered. No one answered. The door to the cage opened for the first time in years. A low mechanical sound filled the air as the barrier shifted. The soldiers threw the human inside. He hit the floor hard and didn't get up immediately. The door closed again, sealing him inside. Everyone held their breath, waiting, watching. The human slowly pushed himself up, coughing, confused. He looked around the empty white room. And then he saw it, the child sitting just a few steps away. Silent, still, looking directly at him. The human froze, fear rising in his chest. He tried to move back, but his body was too weak. I don't want trouble," he said softly. Outside, the scientist whispered, "This is it. It will kill him now." Seconds passed, nothing happened. The child tilted its head slightly, studying him, not like prey, but like something new. The human expected pain, death, something terrible. But instead, the child slowly stood up. Small steps, quiet, careful. It moved closer, closer, until it was standing right in front of him. The entire room felt like it stopped breathing. Even the alarms seemed distant now. The child stared into his eyes. Not empty anymore, but searching for something it had never seen before. Then, in a soft, almost broken voice, it spoke. Mine. Outside the cage, no one moved, no one understood. Because for the first time since it was created, the child had chosen something, and whatever that meant. The galaxy was no longer safe. The room stayed silent after the child spoke. No one outside the glass moved, no one even breathed properly. The word echoed in every mind, simple but wrong. Mine. The scientist slowly stepped closer to the screen, his hands still shaking. Did it? Just claim him. He whispered. No one answered. Because no one had ever seen this before, inside the cage. The human did not understand what was happening. He only knew one thing: he was still alive. The child stood in front of him. Not attacking, not showing anger, just watching him carefully. The human swallowed hard, his voice weak. I won't hurt you, okay? The child blinked slowly, as if trying to understand the meaning of those words. Outside, a commander entered the control room. His face cold and serious. What is the status? He asked. The scientist replied quickly. It has not attacked. It called the human mine. The commander's eyes narrowed. Then we test it, he said. The scientist turned, shocked. Test it? Are you insane? We already lost 12. We need to know its limits, the commander interrupted. A long pause filled the room. Then the commander gave a simple order. Send in a guard, inside the cage. The human slowly shifted back, still scared, still confused. The child followed his movement with its eyes. Not aggressive, protective. The human noticed it. But he could not believe it. Why are you looking at me like that? He whispered. The child said nothing. But it moved slightly closer, like it did not want distance between them. Then suddenly, the door behind them made a sound. A guard stepped inside, weapon ready, fear clear on his face. Stay where you are, the guard shouted, even though his voice trembled. The human raised his hands quickly. Wait. Don't, something is wrong here. The guard ignored him and pointed the weapon directly at the human. That was the mistake. The moment the weapon aimed at the human, the air changed, heavy, sharp, like pressure building before a storm. The child's expression did not change, but its eyes locked onto the guard. Cold, still final outside, the scientist screamed, Stop! Don't point it at him. Too late. The guard's body lifted off the ground without warning. His weapon dropped, clattering uselessly. He tried to scream, but no sound came out. Then slowly, his body began to fold, like something invisible was crushing him from all sides. Bones cracked, armor bent, and in one quiet, horrifying second, everything stopped. The body fell to the floor, lifeless, inside the cage. The human stared in pure shock. Unable to move, his breathing became fast, uneven. What did you just do? He whispered. The child looked at him, not proud, not angry, just calm. And then it spoke again, soft, clear, and certain. Don't touch my human. Outside, complete silence filled the control room. The commander stepped back slowly. Something rare appearing on his face, fear. This is not a subject anymore, he said quietly. This is a threat. The scientist shook his head. No. You don't understand. It didn't attack randomly. It reacted. It protected him. The commander looked at the screen again. Thinking, calculating. Then the human is the key, he said. Inside the cage, the human slowly lowered his hands. Still shaking, he looked at the child, trying to understand. Why? Why are you protecting me? He asked softly. The child did not answer immediately. It stepped closer again and sat near him. Not too close, but close enough, like it wanted to stay near him. The human hesitated, then slowly moved his hand. Not to attack, just to test. He gently placed his hand on the ground between them. The child looked at it, carefully, curiously. Then, after a moment, it moved its small hand forward and touched his fingers. Outside, the scientist gasped. It's making contact. This has never happened. Inside, the human froze, expecting pain, but nothing happened. No force, no pressure, no death, just a soft, light touch, warm, real. The child looked at him again, its voice even softer this time. You stay. The human's fear did not disappear, but something else appeared with it, confusion and something deeper. Something dangerous, because in that moment, he realized something impossible. He was not trapped in the cage with a monster. The monster was protecting him from everything outside. Outside the cage, the commander turned away. Making a decision. Prepare containment protocol, he ordered. We isolate both of them. The scientist looked at him, worried. And then, the commander paused for a moment before answering. Then we figure out how to control it, inside the cage. The child slowly leaned closer to the human, watching him like the only thing that mattered. And for the first time since the alarms began, the human understood one terrifying truth. He was no longer just a prisoner. He was the reason the most dangerous being in the galaxy had chosen a side. The lights inside the cage dimmed to a soft white. Everything felt quieter now, but not safer outside. The facility had changed its behavior. No more shouting. No more sudden movements. Only watching. Always watching. Inside, the human sat against the wall, trying to control his breathing. His body still hurt, but his mind was racing faster than ever. Across from him, the child remained close, never letting him out of sight. It did not blink much. It did not look away, like it was afraid he might disappear. The human finally spoke, his voice low and careful. Do you understand me? The child tilted its head slightly, not confused, just thinking. Then it nodded once, slow and small. The human exhaled in disbelief. Okay. That's good. I think. Silence followed. But it was different now, less deadly, more uncertain. The human looked at the small figure again, trying to see it clearly. It looked like a child, but nothing about it felt human. Not the way it moved, not the way it watched, and definitely not what it could do. Still, he forced himself to speak again. You don't have a name. Right, the child blinked. Name. It repeated slowly, as if the word was new. The human gave a small, tired smile. A name is what someone calls you. So you're not alone. The child stayed silent, processing. Then it pointed at him. You. Name. The human paused, surprised. Me. He let out a weak laugh. Yeah. I have a name. He hesitated for a moment, like saying it mattered now more than ever. I'm a Yan. The child watched him closely. Yan. It repeated, slower. The human nodded. Yeah. That's me. Then he pointed at the child. So, I'll give you one too. The child did not move, but something in its eyes shifted. Not empty anymore. Waiting, the human thought for a moment, looking at the strange, dangerous, quiet being in front of him. Then he said softly, I'll call you Nira. The child blinked again. Nira. It said the word like it was testing it, feeling it, learning it. Then for the first time, something changed. A small expression. Not quite a smile, but close outside the cage. The scientist leaned closer to the monitor. It's adapting faster than expected. Language, identity, emotional response. The commander stood behind him, watching carefully, or it's learning because of him. He said, inside. Ayan shifted slightly, still in pain. You've never had a name before. Have you? He asked gently. Nira shook her head slowly. No. The word was quiet, almost empty. Ayan looked down, something heavy settling in his chest. They kept you here, alone. Nira did not answer, but her eyes stayed on him, always on him. Then suddenly, a sharp sound echoed through the room, a mechanical click. Ian's body tensed immediately. What was that? He whispered. Outside, the commander spoke calmly. Begin phase 2. The scientist turned quickly. Wait. They're not stable yet. But the commander did not listen. Inside the cage, the walls shifted slightly. Hidden panels opening. Something new was entering. Ian stood up slowly, fear returning. Nira? Something's coming. Nira did not look at the walls. She was already looking at him. Like that was the only thing that mattered. Then, from one of the panels, a small creature dropped into the room. It was not human, not even close. Sharp limbs, dark skin, glowing eyes, a hunting creature, fast, deadly, and trained to kill. Ian stepped back immediately, his heart racing. What is that? The creature hissed, locking onto him as the target. Outside, the scientist whispered. They're testing her reaction again. But this time indirectly. The creature moved fast, rushing toward Ian. He tried to move, but his injured body was too slow. He fell back, panic rising. Nira. He didn't even finish the word, because the creature suddenly stopped. Midair frozen, like time itself had paused. Ian's eyes widened. He turned slowly. Nira was still standing where she was, not moving. But her eyes, they were different now. Not empty, not calm, but focused, cold, dangerous. The creature's body began to shake violently, as if something invisible was tearing it apart, piece by piece, until it dropped to the ground. Lifeless, silence returned again. Heavy and deep, Ian's breathing slowed. But his fear did not disappear. He looked at Nira. You did that for me, again. Nira walked toward him slowly, stopping close enough to make sure he was still there, still safe. Then she spoke, simple, clear, and certain. Mine. Safe. Ian stared at her, something shifting inside him. This was not just protection anymore. This was attachment, something deeper. Something that could not be controlled, outside. The commander's voice turned cold again. This confirms it, he said. The human is not just important. He is the trigger. The scientist looked uneasy. And if we remove him? The commander's eyes stayed on the screen. Then we see what the weapon does without its reason to hold back, inside the cage. Ian sat back down slowly, unaware of what was being planned. Nira sat beside him, closer this time, not letting any space remain between them. And in that quiet moment, something invisible formed. A bond, stronger than fear, stronger than control, and far more dangerous than anything the galaxy had ever created. Asterisk, the silence inside the cage did not last long. Something had changed outside. Ian could feel it even without seeing anything. The air felt tighter, heavier, like a storm was coming. Nira sat beside him, closer than before. Her small hand resting near his arm. She was not looking at him now. She was looking at the walls, listening, always listening. Ian noticed it immediately. What is it? He asked quietly. Nira did not answer. But her eyes narrowed slightly, focused on something beyond the metal walls. Outside, the control room was no longer calm. Soldiers filled the area, heavy boots echoing, weapons ready. The commander stood at the center, giving orders without hesitation. Phase 3 begins now, he said. The scientist stepped forward quickly. Panic clear on his face. You can't do this. They are stable. If you push too far, it will break. It is already broken, the commander replied coldly. We either control it now, or we lose everything later. The scientist looked back at the screen. Fear deep in his eyes inside the cage, Ian slowly stood up. His body still weak, but his instincts screaming. This feels wrong. Something is about to happen. Nira stood up at the same time. Not slowly this time, quick, alert, ready. The lights flickered once, then twice, then turned red. A loud mechanical sound echoed through the room as the walls shifted again, but this time, It was different. Multiple panels opened, not just one. Ayan's heart dropped. No. No, this is not a test. From the openings, soldiers stepped inside. Not one, not two, many fully armed, fully prepared. Their weapons glowed with energy strong enough to destroy anything except one thing. Nira moved instantly, stepping in front of Ayan, blocking him completely, her small body standing between him and an entire squad. One soldier shouted, "Target acquired. Focus on the human first. Wait." Ayan shouted, raising his hands, "Don't do this. You don't understand." The commander's voice came through the speakers. Calm and distant. Fire. Everything happened at once. Energy blasts filled the room, bright and loud. Ayan shut his eyes, expecting the end, but nothing hit him. Nothing touched him. The blast stopped mid-air, frozen. Like time had stopped again, Ayan slowly opened his eyes. The entire scene was impossible. Every shot, every movement, every soldier frozen. Except Nira. She stood still, her eyes glowing faintly now. Not with light, but with something deeper. "Something wrong," Ayan whispered. "Nira. Stop, please." But she did not look at him. Her focus stayed on the soldiers. And then, everything moved again, but not the way it should. The soldiers were thrown back violently, crashing into walls, weapons shattering. The room shook. Metal bent like it was soft. Screams filled the air, then suddenly, silence. Again, too sudden, too complete. Ayan's chest rose and fell rapidly. He looked around in shock. Bodies everywhere, unmoving, broken. The entire squad was gone in seconds. He slowly turned to Nira. Her back was still facing him, her small shoulders rising and falling slightly. Not from effort, from something else, something like fear. Ayan stepped closer carefully. "Nira, it's over. You're okay." "I'm okay." For a moment, she did not respond. Then slowly she turned toward him. Her eyes were no longer cold. They were wide, unstable, like something inside her was breaking. "You hurt?" she said softly. Ayan shook his head quickly. "No. I'm fine. You protected me." Again, Nira stared at him, searching his face, making sure he was telling the truth. Then suddenly, the entire facility shook violently. Ayan lost his balance and fell to one knee. "What now?" he whispered. Outside, alarms screamed louder than before. The scientists shouted, "Containment failure. Power systems collapsing." The commander's voice cut through, still calm. "Seal all exits. Do not let them leave." Inside the cage, cracks began to appear in the walls, not from damage, from pressure. Something too strong pushing against something too weak. Ayan looked around, panic rising again. "Nira, we have to get out of here. This place is going to collapse." Nira did not move toward the exit. She moved toward him, grabbing his hand tightly for the first time. Not just touching, holding. Her grip was small but firm, certain. "Stay," she said. Ayan looked at her, confused. "Stay? No, we need to leave." But before he could finish, the wall behind them shattered, not broken, shattered. Like glass hit by something invisible. Cold air rushed inside, darkness beyond the opening. Freedom, or something worse. Nira pulled him gently. Not forcing, guiding. "Come," she said quietly. Ayan hesitated for 1 second, just one. Then he made a choice. He stood up and followed her, because staying meant death. And somehow, following her felt safer than anything else. As they stepped into the darkness beyond the broken wall, the facility behind them continued. The cold air outside the broken facility felt unreal. Ayan stumbled as his feet touched rough ground, his body still weak, behind him. The massive structure continued to collapse, metal twisting and falling into itself. Smoke rose into the dark sky, covering the stars. For a moment, he just stood there, trying to understand what had happened. He was free, but he was not safe. Nira stood beside him, still holding his hand. Her grip had not loosened since they left the cage. She was not looking at the destruction behind them. She was looking at the sky, watching something far away. Ayan followed her gaze. At first, he saw nothing. Just darkness, then slowly, shapes appeared, massive ships. Floating high above the planet, silent, waiting. Ayan's heart sank. They found us, already, he whispered. Nira's fingers tightened slightly around his hand. Not safe, she said softly. Ayan let out a weak breath. Yeah, I figured that. He looked around quickly. The land was empty, dry, filled with sharp rocks and broken ground. No shelter, no place to hide. We need to move now, he said. Nira nodded once, and without another word. They began to walk, far from the ruins, far from the cage that had kept them trapped, but not far enough from what was coming. High above, inside one of the ships, alien commanders watched everything, cold eyes, calm voices. The subject has escaped, one of them said. Correction, another replied. The weapon has chosen a target to protect. Silence followed. Then a final order was given. Prepare for elimination. Back on the ground, Ayan struggled to keep walking. Each step hurt more than the last, but he refused to stop. Because stopping meant being found, and being found meant death. Nira walked beside him easily, her steps light, silent. But her attention was never on the ground, always on him, making sure he did not fall. Making sure he was still there, after some time. Ayan finally collapsed to his knees, breathing hard. I can't keep going, he said, his vision blurred, his strength fading fast. Nira stopped immediately, kneeling in front of him, her small hands touching his face carefully. Broken, she whispered. Ayan gave a weak smile. Yeah, a little. For a moment, neither of them moved. The world around them felt too big, too empty, too dangerous. Then Nira did something strange. She closed her eyes, completely still. Ayan watched her, confused. What are you doing? He asked softly. She did not answer. But the air around them began to change. A low vibration filled the ground. Barely noticeable at first, then stronger. The rocks nearby shifted slightly. Dust lifted into the air. Ayan's eyes widened. Nira, what is this? Her eyes opened again, and this time, they were not calm. They were glowing faintly, not bright, but alive. Home, she said quietly. Ayan froze. Home? This is your home. Nira shook her head slowly. No. They made me. The words came out broken, but clear enough. Ayan felt something heavy drop in his chest. They created you, he said softly. Nira nodded. Weapon, she added. The word felt cold, empty, like something she had heard many times. Ayan looked at her, really looked this time. Not just as something dangerous, but as something else. Something that had never been given a choice. They used you, he whispered. Nira did not respond, because for her, it was normal. It was all she had ever known. Suddenly, a loud sound cut through the air. Ayan looked up sharply. One of the ships above had moved, descending fast. They're coming, he said. Panic rising again, Nira stood up slowly, placing herself between him and the sky. Her expression changed again, not confused, not curious, focused. Ayan grabbed her arm weakly. No. Listen to me. You don't have to fight. We can hide. We can run. Nira looked back at him, her voice soft but certain. They hurt you. Ayan shook his head quickly. No. I'm fine. Just don't. But the ship above opened, and figures began to drop from the sky. Not soldiers like before. Something worse. Larger, heavier, built for war. Ayan's breath caught in his throat. This is bad. This is really bad. Nira stepped forward slightly, letting go of his hand for the first time since they escaped. Ayan felt it immediately, the absence, the sudden fear. Nira. He called softly. She did not turn back, but she spoke clear, simple and calm. Stay. The same word as before, the same rule, but this time it felt different. Not just protection, but something deeper, a promise. The ground beneath her feet cracked slightly as the first of the enemy landed. Dust rising around them, the air turning heavy again. And for the first time since leaving the cage, Ayan realized something terrifying. The galaxy was not just afraid of Nira because she was powerful. They were afraid because she was starting to choose, and if she chose to fight, nothing would be able to stop her. The ground trembled as the first of the war units landed. Dust rose into the air, covering everything in a gray cloud. Ayan could barely see, but he could hear them. Heavy steps, slow and powerful, not like soldiers. Like machines built only for one purpose: to destroy. Nira stood still in front of him, her small figure facing something far bigger than her. For a moment, the scene felt unreal. A child against an army, but Ayan knew the truth. The army was not the danger here. She was Nira. "Please, listen to me," he said, his voice weak but urgent. She did not turn. Her focus stayed on the shapes moving through the dust. "You don't have to do this. We can leave. We can find another way." Silence, then her voice came, soft but clear. "They come to take you." Ayan's chest tightened. "No. They want you, not me." Nira shook her head slowly. "You, mine." The words were simple, but the meaning behind them was heavy. Dangerous. Ayan pushed himself up, forcing his body to move despite the pain. He stepped closer to her, placing a hand gently on her shoulder. "I'm not something to protect like this. I'm just a human." Nira finally turned her head slightly. Her eyes met his, and for the first time, there was something new in them. Not just focus, not just calm, but confusion. "You stay," she said, quieter this time. Ayan shook his head slowly. "No. You don't understand. If you keep doing this, they will never stop." The ground shook again as more units landed, surrounding them from all sides. Tall, armored, glowing with energy. Their weapons charged, ready. Ayan looked around, panic rising fast. "There's too many," he whispered. Nira turned back toward the enemies, her small hands slowly clenching into fists. The air around her began to change again. Pressure building, the same feeling as before. But stronger, much stronger. Ayan felt it immediately. His breath became harder. "Nira, stop," he said quickly, but she did not stop. The war units moved at the same time, all of them targeting her. Energy weapons firing in perfect sync. Bright light filled the area, explosions shaking the ground. Ayan dropped to the ground, covering his head. Everything became noise and chaos, and then nothing, silence again. Too sudden, too complete. Ayan slowly lifted his head. His heart racing, the dust began to clear. And what he saw made him freeze. Every attack, every blast stopped. Frozen in the air around Nira, like a storm paused in time. She stood in the center of it, untouched, unmoved. Her eyes glowing stronger now, not soft anymore, sharp cold. The war units tried to move again, but they couldn't. Something invisible was holding everything in place. Ayan whispered, "This is too much." Then suddenly, everything reversed. The energy blast turned back, flying toward the war units instead. One by one, explosions filled the area again. But this time, they were not attacking her. They were destroying themselves. Metal broke, armor shattered. Massive bodies crashed into the ground within seconds. The entire battlefield was silent again. Destroyed, Ayan stared in shock, unable to move. "Nira, what are you doing?" he said softly. She did not respond immediately. She slowly turned toward him. Her expression calm, too calm, but something was wrong. The ground beneath her feet cracked deeper. Spreading outward in lines, the sky above seemed darker. Like the world itself was reacting to her. "You safe?" she said. Ayan shook his head quickly, crawling toward her. "No. This is not safe. This is worse." He grabbed her arm gently, trying to pull her back. "You're going too far. You're losing control." For a moment, she just looked at him, not angry, not confused, just distant. Then she spoke again. "If they hurt you." She paused, her voice lowering. "Can I break everything?" Ayan's heart stopped for a second. Those words were not just a question. They were a possibility, a real one. He shook his head quickly, fear clear on his face. "No. No, you can't. Listen to me. You don't need to destroy anything." Nira stared at him, waiting, like his answer mattered more than anything else. Ayan took a deep breath, forcing himself to stay calm. "You protect me. That's enough. You don't have to destroy the world to do that." The air around them slowly settled, the pressure easing slightly. Nira's eyes dimmed just a little. "You sure?" she asked softly. Ayan nodded. "Yes, I'm sure." For a moment, everything became quiet again. Too quiet, because high above, the ships were still there, watching, waiting, preparing something bigger. Inside one of the ships, a commander spoke. His voice low. "This confirms it. The human is not just a variable. He is the limit," another voice replied. "Then we remove the limit, back on the ground." Ayan suddenly felt a chill run through his body. Like something worse was coming, he looked up at the sky, his expression darkening. "Nira, this isn't over." She followed his gaze, her face calm again, but her grip tightened around his hand. "I know," she said quietly, and far above them, something massive began to move. Something that was not sent to capture, not sent to test, but sent to end everything. The sky changed before anything appeared. The dark clouds above twisted slowly. Like something massive was pushing through them, Ayan felt it first. A deep pressure in his chest, heavy, crushing. Impossible to ignore. He looked up, his voice barely a whisper. "Nira? What is that?" Nira did not answer immediately. Her eyes stayed fixed on the sky, her small hand tightening around his. "End," she said softly. The word sent a cold feeling through Ayan's body. Then the clouds split open, and something descended. Not a ship, not a machine, something else, something alive. Huge, silent, and wrong, its shape kept shifting. Like it could not decide what it wanted to be. Light bent around it, sound disappeared near it. Ayan stepped back instinctively, fear taking over. "This is not normal," he said above them. Voices echoed from the ships. "This is the final protocol. Eliminate the anomaly." The massive being in the sky moved slightly, and the ground below cracked deeper, like the planet itself was reacting. Ayan's breathing became fast, uneven. "They sent that just for you," he said, looking at Nira, but Nira was not looking at the creature. She was looking at him, always him. "You hurt," she said. Noticing his shaking, Ayan forced a weak smile. "I'm okay. Don't worry about me. Just don't lose control." Nira blinked slowly, processing his words, holding onto them. Then the being above moved again. This time faster, a ripple passed through the air. And suddenly, Ayan dropped to his knees. A force pressed down on him, invisible but overwhelming. "Nira, I can't move," he struggled to say. The pressure increased, stronger, heavier. Trying to crush him into the ground, Nira turned instantly. Her expression changed, not calm anymore. Not focused, something else, something breaking. The air around her exploded with energy. The ground beneath her shattered outward, cracks spreading in all directions. The force holding Ayan back disappeared instantly. He gasped for air, collapsing forward. "Nira, stop," Please, he said, his voice desperate now, but she was not listening. Her eyes were glowing brighter than ever. The sky above twisted harder. The massive being reacted, its form shifting rapidly, as if it finally recognized something dangerous. Nira stepped forward, slowly at first, then faster, each step cracking the ground beneath her feet. The air screamed around her, reality itself felt unstable. Ayan watched in horror. This is it. She's going to destroy everything, he whispered. The being above attacked. A wave of pure force crashing down toward Nira. But it never reached her. It shattered before touching her. Breaking into nothing, Nira raised her hand slightly, and the sky itself seemed to bend. The ships above began to shake violently. Systems failing, structures breaking. Panic spread through their command rooms. This is impossible. We are losing control. But Nira was not looking at them. She was looking at the being. And for the first time, she spoke clearly. Cold final, don't touch, my human. The words echoed far beyond the planet. Like something the universe itself heard, the being above tried to resist. Its shape expanding, twisting, trying to overpower her. But something was different now. Nira was not holding back anymore. The ground split open beneath her, energy rising around her like a storm. Ayan felt it again, stronger than before. This was not just power. This was destruction, total, complete, unstoppable. Nira. No, he whispered, tears forming in his eyes. If you do this, everything will end. For a moment, just one moment, everything paused. Nira's body froze mid-step, the energy around her flickering. Her eyes shifted slightly, not glowing as bright. She turned her head slowly, looking back at Ayan. His voice echoed in her mind. You don't need to destroy anything. The storm around her weakened slightly. The being above hesitated, confused, uncertain. Nira looked at Ayan fully now, her voice soft again, broken between power and something else. You said no. Ayan nodded quickly. Yes. Please, just stop. Silence filled the space again. The energy around her slowly faded. The cracks stopped spreading. The sky steadied. The massive being above froze, like it did not understand what had just happened. Then slowly it began to retreat, pulling back into the clouds, disappearing the same way it came. The ships above followed. Damaged, shaken, but leaving, running. Because they finally understood something. This was not a weapon they could control. This was something far worse, something that could choose. Back on the ground, Nira stood still, the glow in her eyes gone. Her small hand slowly reaching out again. Ayan took it immediately, holding it tightly. Neither of them spoke for a moment. Because words were not enough anymore. Finally, Ayan looked at her. His voice soft but certain. It's over. Nira shook her head slightly. No. She looked at the empty sky, then back at him. They afraid. Now, Ayan followed her gaze. Understanding slowly, the galaxy had not won. It had not lost either. It had changed, because now, they were not afraid of destruction. They were afraid of something far more dangerous. A being that had the power to end everything, and chose not to.